Hey, it's Shauna. How you doing, Legion? I've been watching a lot of videos lately, obviously trying to hone my craft, get better at podcasting. Great topics are out there. Listening to folks like Mel Robbins, love her. If you ever get a chance, check her podcast out. And also just trying to get a better understanding of what things should look like. So you're interested, I'm bringing topics that are relevant, things that are meaningful. But I came across this one that just kind of, my spidey senses started tingling a little bit. It was, take a 3-minute quiz on if you think you are a quality woman. And of course, I hate to say it, it's a guy leading it. And I thought, okay, wait a minute, quality woman, who's defining that? And based on whose foundational information of, is it society or what makes a quality woman? And to me, we're all quality women. But it kind of like just made me think about the information that's out there, and I want to do better. And that's a big reason why I'm doing the podcast that I'm doing. The first podcast, I think, was a really good introduction to the Legion, the history, what we're trying to accomplish, which is all the things women. And in the second podcast episode, I really wanted to find a way to convey being more purposeful with the things that we do. So when we talk about all the things women, it's topics, things we don't talk about, things that I know that sometimes in just even some of our closest knit groups, we don't discuss. That was one of the reasons that I think it was really important to talk a little bit more purposefully about where we're going and what we want to do. And as women, I think a lot of times we put everybody in front of ourselves, which is very typical. But I think we have to be very definitive with where we want to go and what we want to do. So this podcast specifically is on being purposeful. And I have, to me, I feel like 6 huge important steps, things you can implement right now that can get you going and doing what you need to do. I think being passive aggressive, that time has fucking come and gone. You need to stop doing it. You got to knock off that bullshit mindset. You've got to choose now. You've got to decide now. I think that where we're at, sometimes we oftentimes don't show up for ourselves. And I know we've all heard that we can't fill other people's cups unless ours are full, but at the same time, we get really distracted, and we've got to battle that every single day. I know we've got our internal insecurities. I know that we've got obviously not just the distractions of life, but even the mental and the emotional distractions. And I think we've got to work really hard on, if we want to shed the old us and become what we want to become, we've really got to be purposeful and do things with intent. And to make epic shit happen, you've got to do epic evolutions and change, and it starts now. So I was serious when I said there are 6 things you can absolutely start doing now that will help you achieve a better life. You'll be more purposeful in your living. You'll have a life of intent with increased opportunities, and you will make more income for 2024. You got to do work though. You got to be willing to roll up your sleeves and do work, baby. I say that to my athletes a lot. And these 6 things are, the first one is you got to work to only impress yourself. You have to surround yourself with the kind of people that you want to be like. I think that's a tough one for us. We sometimes have old friendships, things that we get wrapped up in, and we have to be able to evaluate were they met there for a reason, season, or a lifetime. Focus on the solution of any given situation. I think that's a big one for number 3. You only get one body, mind, and life. And so to me, don't squander it. Don't waste time. You got to get to it. I know that's not always easy, but we're going to talk a lot about how to put into plan better habits, better routines. I'm a big routine gal. You're going to hear me say it so many times on this podcast. 5, eat better and exercise. You only get that one body, right? You've got to be able to take care of yourself, and you are what you eat, right? Mom, grandma always told you that one. And then you can't look at the past, and you can't stress about the future. Those 6 things are going to be huge in this coming year for you. Okay, so we've laid out the 6 things you need to do, but I wanted to do a deeper dive into those 6. And starting with number 1 is the first thing. You got to work to only impress yourself. I know far too often we get wrapped up into what people's expectations might be for ourselves. Sometimes what we even might have had for our vision of our life, and it didn't quite turn out the way we'd wanted, or it maybe turned out better, or there are things we want to change and evolve into. And I think it's one of those things that you have to be willing to let go of what you've done in the past to be able to have the things that you want in the future. And there's that saying, What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Girl, been there, done that one so many times. You think you learn from life's lessons, but sometimes those lessons have to kind of beat you down 2, 3, 4 times before you kind of get your shit together and wrap it around your head and go, okay, wait a minute, I need to start doing something different. You have to strive towards those things. And I think the biggest part is fear. I know what it's like to be afraid of things, but sometimes you just got to tackle it head on. I know a lot of you guys remember the bison story from the first episode of the podcast, and it's true. You got to head into that storm. And not all storms are bad. I think we envision this big snowstorm that's going to be, we lose our power, we lose our Wi-Fi, heaven forbid, our cable and whatnot. But I think storms are meant and put into our lives for a specific reason. And it's kind of to shake the sugar tree. And you have to, think about back when you were a kid, what is it you wanted to be when you grew up? I remember that. And we were told we could be anything. But then there were times if you told a different person, they'd say, oh, honey, you may not want to be an astronaut, or, oh, a chemist, or, oh, a mathematician, or, oh, a professional athlete. Even for women, that was really even just 30 years ago, a very big stretch for a lot. And I know that a lot of times then we would put that and file that away in our lives and say, okay, well, so-and-so said I couldn't do it, so maybe I need to reevaluate what I want to do. All right, so now that we're knocking that shit off and we're working towards no fear and no judgment of others, which is a big one, we're going to move into number 2. And that's surrounding yourself with the kind of people that you want to be like. And, it actually reminds me of a podcast that I was listening to from, again, one of my faves, Mel Robbins. And she's talking about how a lot of times we allow other people to influence us. And the best things we want to do is follow in the footsteps of those that are going the path in the direction that we want to go. And honestly, I watch her podcast religiously because I love what she does. I love her messaging. I love how she presents it. And it's very motivational. And so that was always my intent with my podcasting. And so why reinvent the wheel? It's already been invented. So go ahead and follow along and learn from those that have gone before you. And that's a big part of what I'm trying to apply both in my life, but also with my daughters, with my friends, and say, hey, you know what? You're not out there all alone. You can actually do this. And there is so much information. The internet, of course, is amazing. But I think we have got to also understand that really the big 4 is how I look at it. The 4 people we are primarily involved with in our lives, friends, family, lovers, friends, doesn't really matter who, coworkers even sometimes. Those are the people that really heavily influence our decisions. And we have to also make sure that the primary person influencing everything is us. And so that goes around with, yes, you don't want to impress people. That's number 1. Number 2, you're going to surround yourself with the kind of people you want to be like. You want to get involved in groups, join different societies, organizations, things that are following the same pattern of processes that you follow. Maybe you're wanting to branch out and try something new. Reach out, make phone calls, send emails, text some folks, get on their YouTube channels, get out there in social media. There's so much great information that you can use to help you progress and thrust forward what it is you want to do, because you're not out here doing this alone. It's not like you're having to reinvent everything. That's the great thing about it. But you do need to make sure that you have got to have a reflection of what your goals look like. And that's definitely going to be the people you're around. Where I'm going with all of this is that when you elevate your goals and energy, sometimes people around you will just naturally self-cut. And as a coach and an athlete, we all know what that means. It means that eventually people kind of get to a place where they realize that where they're at and the people they're around may not be the people they want to be with. And sometimes people just fall off because they can't rise to the same level or the energy, or they just can't go where you're going to go. And that's okay. And I think that's something else we have to look into deeper in ourselves and understand that we have to let some people go, because that's just part of the process of life. You've heard that they're there for a reason, a season, a lifetime. They might have just been there for that reason, that small snapshot in time. You have to embrace that. All right, we're moving on to number 3. The third one for me is always focus on solutions and not the problem. I think in any given situation, there's always going to be challenges. There's hurdles to overcome. Not everything is smooth sailing. That minute you decide whether it's opening a business, whether it's deciding that you want to change jobs, whether it's changing a relationship, whether it is moving into maybe an investment that makes you a little uncomfortable. you have to always do the game I play with myself is the if this, then. If this is going to happen, then A, B, or C could happen. It's kind of preparing yourself for the fallout, for also the positive things that could happen, and just know, okay, if this happens, these are my next steps. Okay, if that happened, then these are my next couple of steps. I think if you're always wrapped up in the negative side of the challenges and the problems, I think that's where you're going to find that you can't quite resolve and move forward. You're not going to be able to put one foot in front of the other. So focusing on the solutions. Yes, there's a problem. There's an issue. There's some barrier that's stopping you from doing what it is you need to do. And that's absolutely going to happen in life, 100%. But if you're focused on how can I problem solve? And I love that. When I've worked with people, when I coach athletes, when I work with my life coaching clients, when we're looking, okay, here's the problem, but what are the ways that we can actually step forward and make some solutions? What are some things that we can do to challenge yourself to say, okay, this is what I'm facing. What can I do to push it forward in a progressive, positive way? Always focus on what the solution to any issue is going to be, and I promise you're going to get through it so much faster. You'll probably cut half the time of your stress and your worry to begin with, but more importantly, you'll get through it and realize it really wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be. Trust me on this one. Get at it. Then, of course, that leads me into span of control. What we can and can't control when we are focusing on problem solving is going to be, I think, a huge piece of success when you are moving forward in whatever trial or tribulation you're facing. When we are actually focused on the actions and the thoughts and the emotions and the things that we control, our reactions to a situation, it is going to be a hell of a lot easier for you to be able to accept certain things and to be able to move forward. And I know we all know the Serenity Prayer about accepting the things you cannot change and knowing the difference between the two. But at the same time, you actually have more power and control than you think, because when you focus it on yourself and you're not putting it on the exterior side of a person, a place, a thing, what they said, what they did, you have absolutely zero control over that. All you have is your span of control. And I think the sooner you embrace that, the faster you're going to be able to move forward progressively, positively, with the energy that you need and the focus that you need and the consistency. That's a huge piece of all of it. All right, let's move on to number 4. Number 4 of the big 6 in my eyes, and what's going to thrust you into 2024 to really make some positive, impactful, progressive, awesome changes in your life, is you got to go back to that. You only got one body, you only get one mind, you get one life. Time is short. It's valuable. It is, to me, I've always said, my most precious asset over money, over anything else, because my time with my kids, the time I spend away from doing the things that, we all have to make money. We got to keep our roof over our head, pay the mortgage, put food on the table. But time is our absolute. And so when we understand that, we don't want to squander any part of that. And part of that is taking care of yourself. And you are what you eat. I know we've heard that saying a million times when we were young, even now. And our body and our mind, that connection is so intimately intertwined that you have got to embrace that. A small change doesn't have to be a massive overhaul of your diet or your exercise routine, but applying one small change will make a world of difference in everything that you do. But you got to decide to move forward. And that's the power that you have with a big part of your embracing the pieces of what you control, your span of control. We talked about that earlier, but that piece of it is not giving that power to anyone. So whether it's you're deciding what you choose to buy at the grocery store or having conversations with people in your household, that's a big part of it. Being on the same page is big. To me, it's no different than when an alcoholic is trying to stop drinking and they live in a house with other people who want to continue to have alcohol in the house. It's just like, the whole bag of Oreos and Doritos in the pantry. What you're putting in and what you're putting in your home is making it super available. So to me, you're the narrator, the writer, and the driver in every part of your life. You're the main character of your life, and you decide how you want that to move forward. So you have to embrace that power of it, and that mind, body, that holistic piece of how you do things then kind of leads into, it's kind of number 5, it's a 4-5 situation, is the eating and the exercise that you need to sustain. Energy is tough. We all know when we're sick How do you feel? You feel like shit, right? Do you want to go exercise? Do you want to go out? Do you want to shower and put makeup on or no makeup on, or go out and do activities? Or do you want to go skiing? Or do you have any energy for anything? So when we understand that those are so intimately, so blended together, that you get to decide what that looks like. So the intimate connection between the two and what you put in your body and how you choose to exercise, taking one small step at a time is going to make a huge world of difference in your activity level, your energy, your willingness to want to say, hey, you know what, let's go try this, or let's go do this, or there's this project I've been trying to get to and I have not had a chance to get to it. So that goes back to that mind-body connection, number 4. But number 5, what are you choosing to eat and how are you exercising? Go take a quick walk. Take the dog out. I'm sure the dog could use some exercise. If you have a dog, maybe a cat, I don't know. Go out in your neighborhood, walk down and get the mail versus driving in and picking it up on your way up to your house. Small things. Maybe instead of, having that bag of Oreos, you choose to do something different. Like, one time you once replace it with an apple or an orange or a smoothie. Try something different. It's actually pretty fun. I did that myself. And you ask anybody that knows me, I was never known for cooking. It's not that I couldn't cook. I just didn't cook. And now that I've gotten into it and I'm getting better and I'm getting more confident and comfortable doing it, I'm making these great meals. I'm having a great time at it. But it took that first step. And that's the thing. It's the small baby steps, one in front of the other. And so again, not major overhaul. You don't need to throw everything out in your pantry, but you need to do some things one thing at a time. And that's a big part of that routine. I know I talk a lot about routines. And I think it's one of those things that when you do one thing differently, and then you're brave enough to do a second thing differently, and then try something new. We all know, again, going back to the very first podcast when I said resolutions are for shit. We never stick with them. It's the same thing with drastic diets and exercise. You're not going to stick with it. You got to really evaluate what are the things you enjoy doing. Go join a bowling league if that's your thing. Try something different. Find some friends to go with you. If you have a partner, if you have a spouse, your kids, there's all kinds of things that you can do. But it is the baby step piece of it. And again, I go back to, don't try to bite off more than you can chew. Do things in moderation. I'm a huge person in everything in moderation. A small thing here, a small thing there. That routine will help you get reestablished. Whether it's you wake up out of bed and you pop right up because you're a morning person, or if you're a little bit slower to get started. I've got a daughter like that, and I'm telling you, that kid, don't talk to her till about 11:30 because her shit is not anywhere near together. She's getting better though, because she started getting into routines, and of course getting back into school didn't hurt. As far as after the holidays, you get all that time off, you're seeing your friends, the kids get crazy with that. But I think you'll find that over time, your clarity, your interest, and your energy, it will give you the opportunity to work towards the changes you want to see in your life. Get at it. All right, number 6, here we go. Don't look at the past and don't stress about the future. And I feel like I'm kind of getting a little preachy on this one, but for me specifically, oh gosh, I struggle with this one all the time. And it's not like I dwell on the past. It's I want to self-reflect and evaluate and look at ways I could have done things better. I'm always looking at doing things better. I think that's part of life, 1% better. Every single day, if I can do 1% better, and that adds to my 80-20 matters meter, right? 80-20 matters meter talks about the 80% in life is going great. The 20% is kind of the shit, the stuff we know we have to deal with, whether it's people at work we don't like dealing with, but we know it's a necessary evil, whether it's a family member that we don't always see eye to eye with, but you love them, you want them in your life, you have common interests, you kind of have to make that work. So the 80-20 matters meter to me is a huge gauge. And a part of that is you can't stress about the past, and you certainly can't stress about the future. I'm a huge planner. Ask anybody again that knows me. I like to plan things out. I'm learning to be spontaneous, big piece there. But I think that as we're healing, we want to make sure that part of that is we're not beating ourselves up for the things we've done in the past, because that's what made you who you are. I mean, bitch, look at you now. You're great. You're amazing. You're all those things. If you take any one piece of any part of that element away from that, that takes away from you. And I know you wouldn't want to do that. And so when I think about that, move forward, forgive yourself, give yourself grace, right? But at the same time, you got to move past that shit. You're fucking amazing, and you have to remember that. And right now is all you really get to control and to focus on and impact with purpose and with intent. So right now is the moment. Right now is the time. What is it that you're going to do? That's the challenge I have for you right now. Future, it will happen. You're laying the groundwork now. All the work that you're doing, whether it's educating yourself, whether it's taking classes, whether it's doing something outside of your comfort level, whether it's dating, and whether it's whatever that looks like, going to counseling in your relationship, going to individual counseling, that's huge. Again, trying to work on the things that make you the best you possible without changing any parts of you, because you are both good, bad, and indifferent, just like the rest of us. We're all human. We have that shit. Everyone's got it. Nobody is above reproach. Nobody has lived a perfect life. And if they did, I would challenge them on that one. But again, I say we don't make mistakes. They were opportunities for us to develop, and that's where you're at right here, right now. So don't worry about the future so much. Yeah, we plan. You got to know where you want to go. I know that everyone wants to have some success in their life. They want to have freedom. They want to have the time to spend with their friends and family, do all the things they love to do. I love to paddleboard. I'm looking to try to get someplace warm at some point. Well, you got to start laying that groundwork now. But I think that if you always know where you're going, you don't have to worry about the future. You're setting the stones in place now to build up to that. You've got to trust yourself on that. Get at it, Legion. I think one of the biggest challenges is we are oftentimes afraid and very scared to let go of who we thought we were to who we want to become. And it finds you in a shit position a lot of times. It's hard to let go because you do love who you are, and maybe there's some things you don't love and things you want to change, and that's okay. Based on you, not anybody else's perception or judgment, but based on what you want to do. But at the same time, I know that you can't move forward if you're constantly looking backwards. That challenge of, wow, I thought I'd be in a different place, whether it's at this age or at this time of my life. And that's okay. That's scary as shit. But you got to be brave. You got to be bold. You got to be willing to put yourself out there. And I know that is a very difficult thing. I think statistically, there's research that says about 80% of people will absolutely avoid everything at every cost if it gives them any kind of discomfort, confusion, not even just physical pain, emotional pain, stress, worry. Even if it's what's best for them, they will stay in a toxic situation, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a work environment. They will literally stay with somebody or some place that they are completely miserable and unhappy, and they know they could have a glimpse of a greater life somewhere else, but they got to do some shit work on the front end first, and they're fucking not willing to do it. And you know what? That's on them. But I know you're not like that. You're willing to step outside your comfort zone, and you're going to do that. But you've got to have that positive mindset. And part of that is, again, the big 6. Focusing on the things that are important are going to really get you where you want to go. I promise. Stay focused, stay consistent, and establish those habits and routines early. Yours is going to be different than anyone else around you, but little things like that will help you. You're chipping away on it, and that's what it takes. That patience, the longevity. Again, it's not a sprint, right? It is definitely the 400 meter or longer. I was never a long distance runner. I always said, hey, if I wanted to run, I would have done track. I did softball and volleyball, but you have to be in it for the long haul. That consistency piece. You got to grind it out every single day, and you can do this. So remember, your story is yours. It's organic. It's always changing. It's evolving. Life has crazy ass ways of teaching us lessons sometimes. And that's the thing that I would hope that as you're listening to these podcasts and you're growing as a person and you're wanting to challenge yourself and change in ways that you've always wanted to, but maybe we're a little afraid to step out of yourself, of who you were, to become who you want to be. But I'm hoping you're going to emerge from the podcasts and the new routines that you're establishing to be stronger, to be more equipped to just heal, have the tools, and to be the best you can possibly be. And again, the best you isn't always this rainbows, lollipops, and unicorn version of yourself. It's going to be the roll up your sleeves, the down and dirty, the knockdown, drag out shit you have to face and deal with to be able to come out on the other side of that storm. There it is again, to be able to do and function in the best way you possibly can. We are not perfect. I mean, we all have pasts, right? We've talked about that. It's built us who we are, but that's only part of you. And I know there's been some controversy over this quote, and I know that it's been somewhat attributed to Marilyn Monroe. And I love this quote, whether she said it or not, but I will use it to probably the day I die. It's, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve my best. And you have to remember that about yourself. We are not perfect. We were not created perfect. We will never be perfect. But at the end of the day, the things that make us who we are, that's what's okay about it, is you're an amazing woman. You have so many things and gifts and wonderment to offer to everyone around you. And you have to be willing to put it out there. And to hell with judgment, to hell with other people's opinions. And I'm not saying being unkind. But what I'm saying is as a legion, as you're supporting other women in your group, your daughters, your sisters, your aunties, whoever that is, you have to also be honest with love and kindness. And that's what the Legion Chronicles came about, was TLC. I know there's the tender loving care of things, but really it's tough love with care. And that's how we're going to look at it as we move forward. And again, I go back to the mind body. You get one life, but that mind and body piece is huge. And we're going to segue into that into our next episode and explore some ways that I've been curious about, because I'm all about that proactive medical versus the reactive medical. Western civilization is really bad about being reactive. So we're going to explore that in podcast episode 3. So I really hope you come back and see us and hang out with me. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And Legion, make it amazing and lay it out there.